I'm Dr. George Flynn, and you're watching In-Depth TV. Today, since I have on my, looks like checkerboard tablecloth shirt, we're going to talk about eating. You know, a lot of people eat out. A lot of people eat in. I eat out a lot. You know, I see a lot of you out at restaurants. And so how do we eat out? How do we stay home and eat? How do we eat healthy? Well, basically, you know, I hope you know this. There are 3 different food groups. A lot of people say there are 5, but there are 3 different food groups, actually. That's a joke. The 3 different food groups are carbohydrates, protein, and fats. And not all carbohydrates are bad, not all protein is bad, and not all fat is bad. But not all of them are good. So you say, where are the other 2 groups? Well, a lot of people that I know like to add the chocolate group and the coffee group, but that's a joke. They're not food groups. The food groups are carbohydrates, proteins, and fat. And let's look into these and look at how you're eating and what you're eating, and see what we can do about it to make you as healthy an eater as you can be. Well, the first tip is going to be pretty easy for some of you. For some of you, it's going to be difficult. But for most of us, it's easy. Slow down. And your mother always told you, chew your food. Slow down, because it's been shown that if you eat slowly versus eating fast, the people that eat fast will eat about 115% of the food that somebody eating slowly will eat. Actually it's about 15 to 20% more food if you eat fast. And you say, well, why is that? Well, what happens is when you're eating, you depend on your brain to tell you you're full, time to quit eating. And your brain will tell you that. But the challenge you have that we can overcome by eating slowly is that you start eating, your stomach secretes some hormones that go into the blood. A hormone does travel by way of blood, and it goes into the brain. And what we call the satiety center in the brain picks up on those hormones. And after a certain period of time, it says, you're full, stop eating. And you know, you get to that point, I couldn't eat another bite. And that's that hormone telling you, you've had enough. But what happens is when you eat fast, you eat more, because it takes, on average, about 20 minutes, 20 minutes, for that hormone in your stomach, in your GI tract, in your intestinal system, to go to the brain and for it to register in the brain. So if you're eating fast, you're putting in more calories and more food during that 20 minutes because you're eating fast. But if you eat slowly, then the 20-minute time, the clock is running, and your satiety center, or the center that says you've had enough, goes off, and you say, I've had enough. So it's that 20-minute time interval that takes 20 minutes no matter if you're eating fast or slow. So just remember that. If you're eating fast, I'll tell you what, we'll make a deal. If you eat fast, eat for 5 minutes, take about a 5-minute break, talk to somebody, read a newspaper, go online, look at your phone, do something, get up, walk around the house, just 5 minutes. Then come sit down and eat again. And during that 5-minute time interval, the hormones will get revved up, go to your brain and tell you you've had enough, and by the time you've had about 100% of what you're supposed to have, the bell goes off. And you say, okay. So you can either eat slowly or 5 to 10 minutes into your meal, take a 5-minute break. Just 5 minutes. And then go back to your meal. So that's the equivalent. You say, well, I can't eat slowly. I've been doing this all my life. Just a 5-minute break. And that will assist you. That'll assist your brain. We're going to trick your brain and your hormonal system into thinking, okay, this person's eating slowly like they should eat slowly, and we're going to stop them when it's time to stop them. Okay, so we're going to now go into the different foods. Bread. Everybody says, I love bread. I love the smell of baking bread. And I'm saying, you can eat some bread. Unless you're gluten-free, then you get gluten-free bread. You know, if you've got gluten sensitivity, get gluten-free bread. But in general, get whole grain bread versus processed bread. That's white bread, highly processed. Get whole grain, preferably with seeds, with the big, big exception. If you have a condition called diverticulosis or diverticulitis, no seeds. I know some people, some of my friends in GI say, eat the seeds. Some people say, don't eat the seeds. I'm just saying, out of caution, stay away from the seeds. It's being cautious. You may get away with it, but I don't want you eating seeds that will flare up diverticulitis. Okay. What can you add to your food or add to your diet? Yogurt. Now, not every yogurt. I'm talking about Greek yogurt. And it's not a brand, it's just a way of preparing the yogurt. Greek yogurt has increased fat and increased protein. And you say, well, I don't want to eat high-fat foods. No. It's got nothing to do with that. The fat and the protein will make you feel fuller longer. You'll feel full longer. Carbohydrates digested really fast for quick energy. The fats and the protein will make you feel full longer, and you won't be snacking all the time. Now, if you eat Greek yogurt, make sure it's plain. If you add the flavor to it, what are you adding? That's right, carbohydrates. And carbohydrates increase the calories, and if you've got type 2, type 1 diabetes, they increase your blood sugar. So we're trying to keep low carbs. You're going to get enough carbohydrates anyway. You just want to minimize your carbohydrates if you can. Okay, so let's say you're going to eat at home or you're going to have snacks at home. You're going to go to a grocery store or some kind of store to buy the food. I'm saying make a list. Shop with a list. And I'm as guilty of this as any of you. Go through a store and just go through aisle after aisle after aisle. And I see stuff, oh, I'll need that. Oh, I got to have one. Oh, those cookies. Oh, got to have the cookies. Make a list before you go to the store and stick to it. And here's another little secret. Go to the store after a meal, not before a meal. If you go to the store and you're hungry, everything you see in the store is going to look good to you. So go to the store after a meal and make sure you're not hungry. Because if you're hungry, you're going to be buying up so much more than you need, and probably not looking at the labels. And I would encourage you to look at the labels, see how many carbohydrates, how many fat calories, how much protein is in this food. And the high carb, high caloric food, shy away from it. So we're going to shop with a list. Also, another thing is if you're not allergic to dairy, not allergic to eggs, have eggs for breakfast. They're high protein, they're good for you. And if you say, okay, I've got high cholesterol, I can't have eggs, only have the egg whites. If you're going to have an omelet out somewhere, order an egg white omelet and take the yellow out of the eggs. That's the part with the cholesterol in it. So take the yellow out of the eggs. If you have high cholesterol, go ahead and take the yellow out, but have the protein. Speaking of that, we want to increase our protein intake. It's good for maintaining muscle mass. It's good for, it breaks down to energy. Protein is good for you. And by protein, I'm not talking about all the steaks that you can eat, though, I would opt for chicken rather than high-fat laden steaks. But some of the other things in protein, if you're not allergic to dairy, dairy is good. Cheese, cottage cheese, things that have protein. What else has protein? Nuts. Now, remember, we talked about diverticulitis. If you've got that, some GI doctors say yes, some say no. But if you're going to have nuts, if you're going to eat them, let's remember they're high protein. Peanut butter. And if you've got a problem with digestion, get the creamy peanut butter, not the crunchy. Get the creamy. And peanut butter they have peanut butter and jelly now. Stay away from that. It's high in carbohydrates. You know it, and so do I. Lean meat. Stick with lean meat. And stick with, have legumes or beans. They're good and high in protein. One other thing is drink some water. And I'm not talking about the flavored water with artificial flavorings, just plain old water. It doesn't have to be bottled water, it can be tap water. Just drink plenty of water. And people will say, drink, 6 8-ounce glasses a day. You may be on a water-restricted diet. But if you are, of course, follow what your doctor tells you to do. But if you're a healthy person, drink more water. Cut down on the soft drinks and increase on the water drinks. Okay, you say, I just can't drink water. Get club soda. Have lemon or lime in club soda. Make sure that you have plenty of water. And, body's made of a lot of water. So you want to have as much water as you can. I hope these have been some of the dietary tips that you want to hear. Some you don't want to hear. And I understand that. I love food. I love as they say, I never met a carb I didn't like. But sometimes the carbs don't like you. And the dietary tips I've given you are for your benefit, not for the food's benefit. And I just want you to live a nice, long, healthy life. And I want to add years to your life and life to your years. I'm Dr. George Flynn, and you've been watching In-Depth TV. Rewatch it. Make sure that you follow this advice because you will live more happy, more healthy, more terrific. Thank you. See you next time. I'm Dr. George Flynn, and you're watching In-Depth TV. We've had part 1 in our series of diet tips and how to eat healthy. and what you do with diet. And if you missed it, I'll give you a little summary of that. But I've gotten so many comments about that that I put the checkerboard shirt on again, and it looks like a tablecloth, I know. So we're going to talk about diet again and go a little more in depth with it. If you missed the last episode, I'll summarize it for you very quickly. Number one tip was slow down your eating. And the reason you slow down your eating, you have a 20-minute lag from the time you take the first bite until your brain registers you may be full. So the faster you eat, the more food you can get in that 20 minutes before your brain tells you you're full. And the slower you eat, the less you eat. As a matter of fact, about 15 to 20% less food in that 20-minute interval. We talked about bread. We want you to eat whole grain versus processed bread. We talked about adding Greek yogurt to your diet. It has a lot of increased fat, it has increased protein, and you'll stay full, you'll feel fuller longer. Don't have the flavored Greek yogurt. Remember that? If you saw it, because that adds carbohydrates to the yogurt. When you have a list to go shopping at the grocery store, you're more efficient. You'll go directly and you'll get your shopping done rather than going to the grocery store and just meandering through the aisles and picking up every candy bar and every soft drink that you see. Say, I may need that, I may need that. And especially if you go before a meal and you're hungry, you'll buy a lot more food than you really need, and you'll buy less healthy food. Eggs for breakfast. We suggested that you have eggs for breakfast. They're protein, and if you're, we'll go over the disclaimers here in just a minute, but eggs for breakfast, that's, is suggested. Increase your protein intake, such as dairy, nuts, peanut butter, lean meat, and drink plenty of water. Now let's go back through just one time to get your disclaimers. Bread, whole grains, seeds in the bread. If you have diverticulitis or diverticulosis, some GI doctors say it's okay to have all the seeds you want. Some say don't have them. I'm saying if you want to be cautious, get bread that has whole grains but not seeds in it. And if you're gluten sensitive, get gluten-free bread. It's out there. I've seen it. And when you have the flavored carbohydrates or the flavored Greek yogurt, make sure you remember if you have diabetes, you're going to have increased calories in the carbohydrates, with the carbohydrates. It's going to raise your blood sugar. Eggs. If you're allergic to eggs, don't eat the eggs for breakfast. And if you have high cholesterol, you can get egg white omelets, and you can get egg beaters. They have low cholesterol. They don't have the yellow part in the egg, but they have a coloring in there, so it looks like you've got regular eggs. So you can get around this if your doctor has told you that you need to cut down on cholesterol intake. This is a way to cut it down. Now, we talked about increased protein. We talked about the nuts. If you have diverticulitis, diverticulosis, some people say cut back on the nuts. And same with peanut butter. Get the smooth peanut butter, not the crunchy peanut butter. And they make almond butter, and they make all kind of walnut butter. And if you're allergic to nuts, don't have that, especially walnuts or almonds or whatever you might be allergic to. But they're high in protein. Lean meat and beans, have it part of your diet. Drink plenty of water unless you're on a water-restricted diet. And if you are, of course, follow your healthcare practitioner. Follow your doctor. Follow your nurse practitioner. Follow. Your diet is important. And that's the whole part about this. So now we're going to go a little bit into the newer material. If you're given the choice of fried chicken or grilled chicken or baked chicken, opt for the baked chicken, because the frying, it's fried in grease, and it has the, calories on top, especially if you've got gluten sensitivity. All the frying part on the chicken has wheat in it, and that's part of gluten. But the wheat on, the breading, and breaded pork chops, and breaded this, and breaded that, and even meatloaf. Meatloaf has bread in it. So all of these areas where gluten can get into your diet, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch what you eat. So every time you get an option, choose the grilled or baked rather than the fried. I'd rather see you eat baked chicken or baked this or baked that. Grilled is second, fried is third. What can you add to your diet? Well, a vitamin. Take a one-a-day type vitamin. And I don't mean the brand. I'm just talking one multivitamin a day. You can go pick one out. Most all of them have the same vitamins in there. But you might consider adding, if you don't eat a lot of fish, and a lot of people don't, adding an omega-3. Now let's warn you. Some omega-3 vitamins out there, if you look on the label, they're made with shellfish. Now, if you have a shellfish allergy, that is going to probably trigger some degree of allergic reaction, because it's shellfish. It's in the omega-3s. You can look on the label, and there are omega-3s without shellfish, and they'll be on the label, contains no shellfish. But if they have shellfish like, crab or shrimp or things like that, well, make sure that you're not having that in your diet. Omega-3s are good for you. You can find them that are shellfish free. They're in the drugstore, they're in the grocery store, they're in the vitamin shops. You can find them. Another vitamin you might consider adding is vitamin D. D is in dog. Vitamin D, and just get one, have one a day. And remember, there are 4 fat-soluble vitamins. And the fat-soluble vitamins, what that means is you can get an increase or too much of it. There's vitamin K, vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin E. K, A, D, and E. And some people on vitamin A eat so many carrots and so much vitamin A that you'll notice their palms and their feet turn orange. And if that's happening to you, go by and get yourself checked out and make sure you're not eating too much vitamin A. So you can have too much. Most people have too little in the way of vitamin D. Fast foods. Oh man, now we're talking. Fast foods. I've got to go out and drive through and get some fast foods today. That's what you say to yourself. That's what I say to myself a lot of times. I'm not stepping on your toes. There are healthy options at all of the fast food restaurants. All of them now, pretty much, I'd say pretty much all of them, have a salad option. And you can get grilled chicken, usually, on top of the salad. And I don't want to advertise any of them especially, but I know the big ones, Chipotle, McDonald's. Yes, I said McDonald's. Wendy's. Most all of them, Burger King, most all of them have healthy options now. And you can pick a salad and you can have a lean meat put on top of the salad, preferably chicken on top of it. Chick-fil-A especially has that. And it's interesting, Chick-fil-A, they cook their chicken in peanut oil, and some people are allergic to peanuts. But they may be allergic to the protein in the peanut rather than the peanut oil. So you've got to check that out. And I understand that a lot of people that are allergic to peanuts can eat Chick-fil-A and not have to worry about it. Check it out with your healthcare provider and make sure that you're not allergic to this. Okay, if you're going to one of the fast food places, get yourself a baked potato rather than French fries. Opt for a baked potato, or opt for a baked sweet potato if you're going to one of the delis. Baked sweet potato, better for you. And most of them have the giant baked sweet potato and the baked potato and the smaller version. Order the smaller version for yourself. Because if you get the giant version, we're all taught, I got to clean my plate. And you'll eat the entire thing. And it's about double the size of the smaller version of it. So opt for the smaller version. It costs a little bit less. And it is better for you to eat smaller meals. Greens. What do we do about greens? Well, if you grew up like I did, I wasn't too hot on greens. But you can get greens and you can put some kind of sauce or that hot sauce or the vinegar or something on the greens, and you can eat those. Here's the trick. Eat the greens first. Eat it first. They will help slow down the absorption of the food that you eat afterwards. And remember, the taste you have after the meal is the last bite you put in your mouth. So eat your greens first. Get it out of the way. And some people may love greens, and my apologies to you. But eat the greens first, because that way you can have the rest of your meal and you'll probably be healthier and probably be more full more rapidly with eating the greens first. What about desserts? Oh man, let's talk about desserts. Well, maybe 4 or 5 times a week, you got to skip dessert. Eat slowly and skip dessert. Just say, I'm going to skip dessert. That's what I'll do, skip dessert. Have a cup of coffee or hot tea or something else other than dessert. Now, I didn't say every day. I said most days. Skip desserts, if at all possible. Here comes the last one. I know you've been waiting for this. Get a little more active. Exercise just a little bit. Walking is fine. 15 or 20 minutes of walking. That's all we're saying. Get the blood pumping a little bit. Don't go so fast that you get out of breath and can't talk. But just walk a little bit every day. You'll find your stamina getting better. You'll be attaining your ideal weight. You'll feel better, you'll look better, and you'll act better. And that's what we're all about. I'm Dr. George Flynn. You've been watching Diet Tips and Lifestyle Tips. We'll see you next time.